Chapter 7, Deadlines. The next afternoon, Friday, Miss Retzel took out her gradebook. "Let's nail down your interview subjects," she said, and scanned her book. "I'll need a potential interview subject from everyone today. Otherwise, you drop a grade. Mo, I encourage you and Dale to rethink your selection. I'm requiring taped interviews." Sal raised her hand. "Plus, they could lose their souls." Dale went pale. "Thank you, Miss Retzel, but Dale and me plan to interview our ghost on a full moon as to be arranged. We will need the project deadlines as soon as possible in case we need to consult outside experts." I added, very professional. "I understand they teach ghost hunting at the community college." "Did she say deadlines?" Harm asked, and Attila tittered like a wind-up toy. "Harm, that's enough," Miss Retzel said. "Dale?" Dale sighed. "I'm with Mo," he said, his voice limp as an old sock. "We'll get modern historic photos, maybe of the ghost too." I nodded. "Brilliant. And all it would take is a sheet in a window." "Grandmother Miss Lacey's loaning us her solar camera," I explained. "An automatic footnote. I had my first photography lesson last night." The class buzzed. "Photographs? A wonderful idea," Miss Retzel said. "And of course, you know I'll recognize your voices if you try to fake an interview with a ghost." My stomach swallowed itself alive. Fake an interview? We'd never dream of it. Dale put his head on his desk. "I'll also expect background interviews," she said, "with the living. Last chance, you two. Change your minds?" Harm and Attila smirked. "We never back out on a case," I said. "Desperado Detective Agency's Paranormal Division is open for business." She marked her book. "Very well. Sal, what do you have in mind?" Sal's the smallest girl in the rising 6th grade, a full half-inch shorter than Dale. She fluffed the strategic ruffles, camouflaging her lipstick-shaped physique. "I'll interview Grandma Betty, retro fashionista. Her mother specialized in semi-tailoring deluxe Sears garments, which were the bee's knees in the 30s. She smiled at Dale, her eyes bright. He didn't even try to lift his head. "Excellent. Harmond?" Ms. Retzel said. "Whom will you interview?" "Whom?" She said it like it made sense. Harm shifted his lean body. "Skip me. I won't be in the boondocks that long." Miss Retzel's pen clattered against her book. The class gulped. "I mean, I won't be in Tupelo Landing that long, Miss Retzel," he finally said. "Besides, I don't know anybody here. I can't get an interview." Attila raised her hand. "You have to know somebody. Where do you live?" she asked. "Not that I care," she added. "It's just that some of us wonder." "Yeah," I said. "Guess whom?" I smiled at Miss Retzel, hoping for a compliment on whom. Nothing. "Where I live is my business," Harm said, his voice cracking. He took a breath, packing calm around his anger, the way Miss Lana packs tissue paper around her mother's crystal. "I'll give you an answer next week, Miss Retzel," he said as the bell rang. Our stampede for the door muffled her reply. Dale and I walked across the playground to our bikes. The afternoon heat lay against the earth, swollen and still. Why doesn't Harm want anybody to know where he lives?" I asked. He shrugged. "Maybe he's in the witness protection program. Or maybe he doesn't want Attila zipping after him like a bloodhound. You want to come over and watch me practice my guitar?" The school door banged open, and Harm swaggered out. Attila loitered near the edge of the playground, cradling her books in a sophisticated high school way. She zinged him her best smile. He looked her way, swung onto his bike, and headed toward Fool's Bridge and the inn. I smiled at her and waved. "Come on," Dale said. "I'll let you feed Newton." "Newton eats dead bugs." "I'd love to, but Newton's gaining weight, and I'd hate to put too much strain on his knees. Miss Lana says added pounds mean added sorrow later in life." I watched Harm pedal away. Where's he going? He headed the other way yesterday, toward the Piggly Wiggly. Who cares? Dale yawned. Okay, I'll feed Newton, but let's swing by the inn first, I said. We need before photos. He grinned. You want to follow Harm Crenshaw, he said, hopping on his bike. I'm curious, too. 5 minutes later, Dale skidded to a stop on the blacktop. We stared up and down the empty highway. Harm Crenshaw doesn't have invisibility skills, does he? The sweat trickled down my spine and wicked along the waistband of my shorts. No, just long legs and a fast bike. Maybe he hid, I said, scanning the dry cornfields along the road. Come on, I said, heading for the inn's drive. Let's get some photos. We stopped in the last curve of the Cedar Line Drive. I held the old camera against my belly and lined up my first shot of the inn. Click! The sound of the camera. Dale pointed to an upstairs window. Who's that? Where? In the corner room. Somebody's watching us. The wavy old window glass glinted as a gust of wind shook the cedars and the clouds shifted overhead. The sun, maybe, I told him. But even in the afternoon heat, a shiver tiptoed up my spine. Maybe it's a girl from auction day. I hate to say ghost, he whispered. Auction day? That was Harm Crenshaw. You're guessing, he said as we crept towards the inn. I'm deducing, I said. Clue number 1. We'd already caught him following us once. On the path with Mr. Red. Number 2. Harm wasn't in the auction tent when we got back. Clue 3. Lavender said it himself. Harm's trouble. I peered at the upstairs window. In fact, I said, heading for the steps, if anybody's in that window now, I'm betting it's Harm Crenshaw. A gust of wind sent a swirl of leaves tumbling down the porch. An old rocking chair creaked. Click. I pushed the front door open, strolled to the front of the staircase, and lined up a photo. 2 stairs, 3 steps missing, 8 good stairs to the top. 13 steps, Dale muttered. That's bad. Because 13 is often considered bad luck. Detectives ain't superstitious, I told him. Click. Hello, I called, aiming my camera at the top of the stairs. Harm? Nothing. Be careful, Dale, I said, starting up the stairs. Keep to the edges. When I reached the missing steps, I balanced on the runners. Hello? Still nothing. I looked down the long hall. Which room, Dale? He pointed to a closed door. If it's Harm, we've got him cornered, I whispered. If it's a ghost, it's got us cornered, he said, his voice bleak. I tiptoed to the door and turned the knob. The door squeaked open on a room lined with bookshelves. A library, I said. I walked to the window and pushed back a rotting curtain. An old one, I added as dusty light flooded the room. Click. Dale rounded an ancient leather sofa. He brushed a shelf, sending a book tumbling to the ragged carpet. I scooped it up and blew the dust off. Geometry, I murmured, opening it. Faded brown ink flowed across the end paper. Cursive, Dale whispered, and I nodded. Miss Retzel's a fan of cursive writing. I tilted the book to the window's light. I hate math, N.B. August 28, 1937. Inky fingerprints stained the bottom of the page. Dale ambled to the window. I must have been seeing things, he said, peering behind the curtain. There's nobody up here but us. He padded to a cabinet with double doors at its base. What's in here, he asked, squatting down. He tugged. The doors didn't budge. He shifted his weight and yanked hard. Harder. The doors flew open. Dale rolled backward, a ragged wave of mice scurrying across the rug. Rats! He screamed, swatting at his feet. I grabbed the back of his shirt and dragged him toward the door. Run! We thundered down the stairs, hurling ourselves over the missing steps and landing at the bottom of the staircase, panting. Mice, Dale said, looking sheepish. Maybe babies. I tried to catch my breath. Miss Lannis says everything's relative, I told him, shoving the geometry book into my messenger bag. They looked relatively huge to me, I lied. Dale scuffed to the old piano and opened a keyboard. Music settles Dale the way rain settles dust. Heart and Soul, he invited, scooting the piano bench out. Heart and Soul is the only performance piece I got. Miss Rose tried to show me more, but when it comes to music, I'm a good listener. I put the camera on top of the piano, slipped onto the bench, and placed my fingers in the go position. Heart and Soul is played generally by two people. One person plays the right-hand part and one person plays the left-hand part on the piano. He sang as we played, Heart and Soul. Upstairs, a door slammed. Footsteps pounded to the top of the stairs. That's not mice, Dale said, jumping up and spinning to face the stairs. Harm Crenshaw, I bellowed, cut it out. A girl laughed, and a wave of cold fell over us like a curtain of ice. That ain't Harm, Dale whispered. Footsteps flew down the empty staircase like a ragged drum roll, hitting every step dead center, all 13 of them. They turned and clattered straight for us. Run! I cried, grabbing my camera. We scrambled to the door and yanked it open. I spun to the piano. Click! The keyboard slammed close, sending an unearthly collision of sound rolling through the end as Dale pounded across the porch. I'm Mo, and that's Dale, and we need an interview, I screamed, tossing our business card on the floor, and I ran for my life. And that's the end of chapter 7.